The sea is endless. Waves rise and fall like the breath of a sleeping giant. Listen closely. Beneath the foam, there are whispers. Old voices echo where no light has ever reached. They speak of chains, not forged by men, nor by fire. Chains that hum with power older than time. The ocean keeps its secrets well. But sometimes, secrets push against the silence. Sailors say the abyss stirs when storms roll without reason, when the sea trembles, yet no wind blows. At the heart of these tales is a name, a god, a keeper of tides and tempests. Poseidon. He is strength and storm, guardian and guide. His trident rules waves and watches creatures alike. But even gods are not beyond mystery. Even they face questions too vast to master. What lies in the rift? Deeper than thought, older than memory. Why are the chains there? Tonight, we step into that current. We follow the pull of the unknown. Close your eyes. Hear the ocean. Feel the abyss calling. This is where our story begins. Poseidon and the Abyssal Chains. The sea is full of voices. They drift like mist, slipping through waves and curling around the wind. Fishermen tell of strange sounds at night, a low hum like iron striking stone deep beneath the water. Others hear faint whispers, words they cannot understand, promises, warnings, or prayers lost to time. These tales spread from shore to shore. Each harbor adds its own verse, each sailor swears the truth. They speak of the whispering depths, a place where sound bends and silence grows heavy as stone. No star can guide a ship there. Compasses falter, lanterns dim, even the bravest crews steer away. Yet the whispers carry. They travel through currents, weaving into dreams, calling to restless hearts. Old scrolls mention a rift, a crack torn into the seabed, older than the gods themselves. From this rift rises a pulse, not thunder, not tide, a rhythm steady, patient, and eternal. Many fear it is a warning. Others believe it is a song, meant for ears that can endure. But there are always those who listen too closely. Curiosity is strong. The sea feeds it. In taverns, a hush falls when the depths are named. Eyes turn downward. Tankards rest on worn wood. For to speak of it is to invite it closer, to draw the abyss into waking life. Yet the legends persist. They are carried in nets of story, cast and hauled from one generation to the next. One tale speaks of chains, not forged in fire, nor struck by hammer. Chains born of light and shadow. They shimmered across the rift, binding it, holding something vast in patient stillness. But no one agrees on what lies beneath them. A beast, a storm, a secret too large for words. The whispers never answer. They only ask in return. Questions deeper than the darkest trench. Some dreamers claim they hear names. Names older than mountains, older than Poseidon himself. Others wake with salt on their lips, though they never touch the sea. And always, the sound returns. Soft, steady, like a lullaby sung by the abyss. For the gods, these murmurs are no idle tales. Even Poseidon listens when the sea speaks. He rules the waves, commands the tides, yet he does not dismiss the whispers, for he knows the ocean hides as much as it reveals. He knows the chains are real. Long ago he felt their hum through the seabed, a trembling note that thrummed within his trident. He did not share this knowledge. To gods, silence can be as heavy as stone. But he remembered. He carried the song of chains in his heart, waiting for the day it returned. And now, the whispers grow stronger, no longer faint, no longer far. The currents bring them close, curling around every reef, every shore, every dream. The whispering depths call again. The sea itself leans toward the abyss, and Poseidon knows the time has come to listen more closely than ever before. The sea is vast, But within its reach lies a realm unlike any other, watched by the eyes of a god. Poseidon's kingdom is not carved in stone nor built on land. It drifts, alive, within the waters. Every current, every tide, every wave that touches the shore moves at his silent command. Coral towers shimmer like living lanterns. Fish weave through them as if painting murals of light. Whales echo songs older than temples, their voices carrying wisdom across the endless blue. Here, life is not chaotic. It is rhythm. Each creature plays its part in the harmony of the sea. Poseidon walks not on ground, but within the currents. The ocean folds to his presence. His trident glows faintly, not with anger, but with steady light, like the moon reflected on calm water. The god's gaze is fierce, yet it holds care. He does not simply rule, he listens, he guides. He feels the heartbeat of dolphins, the slow drift of kelp, the pulse of deep sea vents. This is not a throne of gold, but of trust. The ocean follows him because he belongs to it. Yet even here, peace is fragile. The whispers of the abyss do not stop at the edge of his realm. They seep into dreams of merfolk. They drift through coral caverns. They curl around sleeping whales. Poseidon senses this unrest. It lingers like a shadow at dawn, faint but impossible to ignore. He gathers his council of spirits. Nereids, guardians of reefs. Tritons, keepers of storms. They come, shimmering like foam, eyes bright with both loyalty and unease. The sea god listens as they speak of strange currents, waters warming where they should cool, lights flickering in trenches where no fire should burn, songs cut short by sudden silence. He raises his hand. The chamber stills. The god does not need words to command attention. In his silence, the water trembles. His thoughts ripple through every heart before him. He knows the signs. He remembers the chains. Though he never named them, they never left him. He recalls the first time he felt their hum beneath the seabed, long before these spirits were born. The memory is heavy, like an anchor, sunk deep, but its weight steadies him. For Poseidon does not fear mystery. He respects it as he respects storm and tide. But respect does not mean ignorance. He will not allow his seas to drift into chaos, unchecked. He rises, the trident in his hand catching light from unseen stars above. The waters surge, carrying his resolve outward, across reefs and plains, through every current. His council bows, not in fear, but in shared purpose. They feel his decision like a tide turning. The whispers may grow, but Poseidon's realm will not falter. He will face the unknown. Still, deep inside, he knows this is no ordinary unrest. The chains are stirring again, and if they break, the sea will no longer sing in harmony. It will echo with something ancient, something vast, something even gods may not control. Poseidon looks once more across his realm, his ocean, his living symphony. The time for waiting has passed. The depths are calling, and the god must answer. The ocean is wide, but deeper still are the places no sunlight dares to follow. Beneath miles of water lies the abyssal rift, a scar carved into the skin of the sea. Its edges plunge like cliffs into shadow, their walls lined with silence and secrets untold. No ship has sailed above it for long. Compasses lose faith. Anchors vanish without touching bottom. The rift stretches farther than eyes can measure, twisting like a wound that never healed. Darkness clings here not as absence, but as presence, heavy and alive. Creatures of the deep skirt its edges. Even they, shaped by pressure and night, do not cross. It is a place of patience, of waiting, a silence that feels as if it listens back. Poseidon knows this silence. He has felt its weight against his spirit, pressing like the tide. He does not fear it, but he respects it as one respects fire or storm. For the rift is not emptiness. It is a threshold. Legends whisper that before the first wave broke, the rift was already here. Some say it is where the sea was born. Others call it a scar from battles forgotten. But none deny its power. Even gods feel smaller in its presence. Poseidon once stood above it, trident raised, currents curling around him like restless serpents. The rift pulsed then, faintly, like a heartbeat in the dark. He felt it not in his ears, but in his bones, a rhythm older than his name. That pulse still echoes now, growing clearer, steadier, harder to ignore. The chains glimmer faintly across its mouth, woven of light and shadow. They stretch like bridges across darkness, humming with a song not made by mortal hands. Each link thrums as if alive, each shimmer a note in a forgotten harmony. To the unknowing, they might seem fragile, as though one touch could shatter them. But Poseidon remembers their strength. He knows they were never meant to break. The rift pushes against them like a tide against stone, patient and relentless. The whispers rise from below, threading through the chains, twisting into dreams above. Sometimes they sound like voices, sometimes like music. Always they carry longing. The god listens, eyes narrowing, heart steady. He knows this is no ordinary current. The rift is speaking, though its tongue is older than language, deeper than thought. It speaks not only to him, but to all who dwell within the sea. Merfolk stir in their sleep. Whales turn their songs to questions they cannot answer. Even the coral slows its glow, as though pausing to hear. The abyssal rift holds more than silence. It holds memory. Memory of storms before the sky, memory of tides before the moon. Poseidon senses these truths pressing upward, heavy as mountains. Yet beyond them, something stirs. A presence vast, quiet, waiting. The chains tremble faintly, their glows shifting like stars in a restless sky. Poseidon grips his trident tighter, not in anger, but in resolve. He knows this rift cannot be ignored. Its pulse will only grow stronger. And if the chains falter, the sea will remember what lies beneath. The abyssal rift waits, deep and patient. The god listens. The story of the chains has only begun. The sea holds many wonders, but none so strange as the chains that span the abyssal rift. They are not made of iron, nor of stone. They shine as if woven from light itself. Yet shadows cling to them too, dancing across their surface like smoke in a hidden breeze. Each link is vast, larger than temples, yet delicate as if shaped by hands of silence. They hum softly, a sound beneath sound, felt more in the bones than in the ear. Sailors say their glow flickers like starlight trapped beneath the waves. But no sailor has ever seen them with mortal eyes. They are hidden from men, veiled by the sea. Only gods and spirits glimpse their shimmer, like lanterns in the dark, half there, half not. Poseidon remembers the first time he touched them. His trident trembled with their song. The power was not hostile. It was balance, patient and eternal, holding what lay below. The chains stretch across the rift, crossing in endless arcs, neither beginning nor ending. They bind not a creature, but a truth, something too immense to rise unguarded. Some call them seals, others call them guardians, but none know who placed them there, not even Poseidon. And that mystery stirs unease in the god of the sea. For gods know power, but here is power without a name, without a master. He studies their shimmer. They pulse with rhythm, steady yet shifting like tides. Sometimes faint, sometimes bright, like a heart struggling between rest and storm. When the whispers rise from the rift, the chains answer. Their glow trembles, their hum deepens. It is as though they are speaking, conversing with the abyss itself. But no one hears the words. Only Poseidon feels their weight, heavy as mountains beneath his spirit. He knows they cannot be broken by force, not by trident, not by storm, not by time. Yet he fears they may weaken, not by strength, but by forgetting. For chains are not only metal or light, they are promises, and promises fade if untended. Perhaps that is why the whispers grow louder. The sea remembers what the world forgets. Poseidon drifts closer, currents parting in silence around him. He extends his hand, not to strike, but to listen. The chains thrum beneath his palm, steady, alive, as if they breathe. For a moment, he hears something more. A voice, faint, buried deep within the hum. It speaks not in words, but in feeling. A sorrow vast, patient, and old. The god pulls back, his heart heavier than before. He knows this is no simple ward. The chains hold more than the abyss. They hold a memory the sea itself cannot bear. He lingers, eyes fixed on their shimmer, mind restless with questions that even gods cannot answer. The unseen chains remain, steady and silent, guardians of a truth too deep for light. But their hum grows louder with each passing tide, calling to Poseidon, calling to the world above. And in the silence between pulses, he feels it, the beginning of change. The sea will not keep its secret forever. The chains are waiting. Long before temples were raised, long before men gave names to gods, there was the sea. It stretched endless, untamed, filled with voices not yet shaped into song or speech. Among those voices were powers older than even Poseidon, older than the sky itself. They were not gods as we know them, but forces, the breath of creation, the weight of silence. The world was young, and balance was fragile. What was born could just as easily unmake itself. So a covenant was struck, not written in stone, but woven into tide and current. The covenant said the sea would endure, but its deepest truths must remain bound, not by chains of iron, but by bonds of promise, kept alive through memory and respect. The abyssal chains were the shape of that promise, stretched across the rift like eternal guardians. They were made not by hands, but by agreement, by harmony between forces too vast to name. Poseidon, though mighty, was not part of their making. He came after, born into their watch. Yet when he felt their hum for the first time, he knew what they meant. They were not prison, but covenant. They kept the sea in balance with itself. Above the waters, storms raged and calmed. Below, the chains whispered and waited. Every tide was proof of the pact. Every wave was memory of the covenant. But memory fades when not tended. Mortals forgot. Even gods allowed silence to deepen. The covenant weakened not in power, but in remembrance, as fewer honored what lay below. Still, the chains endured. For promises, once spoken by creation itself, do not die easily. Yet whispers rise now because the covenant is slipping into shadow. Poseidon feels it with every storm that surges unbidden, with every current that twists off course. He knows the sea still remembers, even if the world above does not. And he knows the covenant is not his alone to guard. For long ago, when the chains were set, voices beyond gods gave their vow. Spirits of flame, guardians of stone, and keepers of sky all wove their promise into the sea. The rift was not sealed by one realm, but by all, bound together in fragile harmony. If one realm forgets, the balance trembles. If all forget, the chains may fail. This is the truth of the forgotten covenant. whispered only in fragments through the tides. Poseidon lingers on that truth, hearing its echo within the hum of the chains. He wonders if others still remember. Do the winds recall? Do the mountains hold their vow? He doubts, for silence has grown wide, and time is a thief of memory. But Poseidon does not forget. He cannot. The covenant is carved into the heart of the sea. The whispers press harder now, like waves against a crumbling shore. The god knows the covenant must be renewed, or the sea will bear the weight of its breaking. He lifts his trident, eyes fixed on the abyss, and feels the old promise stir. The forgotten covenant has not vanished. It waits, buried in silence, calling to be remembered. And Poseidon knows he must answer, before the chains unravel and the sea is left without its vow. The sea speaks in many ways, in storms, in silence, in whispers that ripple through the deep. But sometimes it speaks through chosen voices, touched by currents older than the moon. These voices are oracles, rare and fragile, humans woven with the memory of the sea. They do not command waves or summon storms, but they hear the ocean's secret language. One such oracle lives far from the rift, in a hidden grotto where tides weave endless song. Her name is Thalera, child of sailors, yet marked since birth by the sea's strange blessing. When she cries, waves echo her sound. When she dreams, her mind drifts into watery depths. Sailors bring her offerings, not of gold, but of shells, salt, and stories from their voyages. She speaks seldom, for words weigh heavy when the ocean whispers in every breath. But tonight, her body stirs with unease, her dreams filled with chains that hum like thunder. She sees the abyss open wide and shadows that twist like smoke beneath the glowing links. She sees Poseidon standing alone, his trident trembling, his eyes shadowed with questions. And she wakes with salt tears on her cheeks, her heart heavy with truths she cannot hold. The grotto answers her fear with restless tides that crash against the stone walls. The sea is speaking, louder than ever, and it chooses her as its fragile messenger. She gathers her strength, walks to the shoreline, and casts her voice into the night air. Her words ride the waves, a prayer carried beyond sight, hoping the sea god will hear. Keeper of tides, hear me. The covenant weakens. The chains cry for remembrance. Her voice trembles, but the ocean carries it far, weaving it into currents that race outward. Beneath the waves, Poseidon feels it, a faint echo brushing against the hum of the abyss. It is not thunder, not storm, but human. A voice unshaped by divine power, yet pure. He turns his gaze from the chains, listening deeper, and the sound finds him like light. The oracle's words sink into his spirit, confirming what he already feared. He knows the covenant is fading, and he knows mortals still carry fragments of its memory. Poseidon closes his eyes, letting her voice wash over him like a tide. For even gods need reminders, and this fragile mortal has given him one. Far away, Thalera sinks to her knees, exhausted, her body trembling with the effort. She does not know if the god heard her, but the sea grows calmer around her grotto. It is as if the ocean itself thanks her, wrapping her in a lullaby of steady waves. She smiles faintly, whispering to the waters, "I have spoken. May it be enough." Poseidon stands once more before the abyss, strengthened by her message. The oracle's voice proves that the covenant is not forgotten entirely. Hope flickers like starlight beneath the sea, faint but unbroken. The god knows what must come next. The covenant must be renewed. But he cannot do it alone. He will need voices from beyond the sea. And so he raises his trident, sending a surge through the currents, a call across realms. The sea god and the oracle are now linked by fate, two voices bound by the same truth. The chains continue their hum, steady but strained, awaiting what is to come. For the abyss does not sleep, and the covenant waits for its keepers to remember their vow. The sea god's call does not end within the waves. It surges outward, carried on currents unseen. It rises into clouds, stirring winds that circle the world like a message on the air. It sinks into stone, echoing through the mountains where ancient spirits once held watch. It threads into fire, flickering in distant embers that burn deep in the earth's heart. Poseidon has summoned not just gods, but the guardians of the forgotten covenant. Each realm feels the tremor, faint yet insistent, like memory stirring after a long sleep. In the mountains, old stone shivers, remembering vows spoken before men walked the land. In the skies, winds spiral faster, as if searching for a voice they had once sworn to. In the hidden fires below, the embers flare, pulsing with the rhythm of the covenant. The world is listening, though silence still weighs heavy and answers come slow. Meanwhile, on the shores of mortal lands, the sea grows restless without clear cause. Fishermen return with tales of calm waters shifting suddenly into strange currents. Birds scatter from cliff sides, sensing a change they cannot explain. Even the stars above seem dimmer, as though the heavens themselves are watching. Thalira, the oracle, feels the weight of this gathering storm in her fragile body. Her dreams grow heavier, filled with visions of chains straining, links glowing too bright. She knows Poseidon has heard her, but she fears what his call may awaken. For not all who remember the covenant may welcome its renewal. Some forces thrive in silence, in forgotten vows, in the fading of memory. Yet the tide cannot be stopped. The call has been sent, and the storm begins to form. Poseidon watches the abyss, sensing the threads of power tightening across realms. He knows the guardians must answer, or the covenant will unravel with time. His trident glows faintly, carrying the hum of the chains into the wide sea. It is both a plea and a command, echoing with the strength of the ocean itself. Far across the horizon, dark clouds rise, not of rain, but of awakening power. They swirl slowly, gathering light and shadow, a crown of the storm. Mortals look upward in fear, sensing the world turning toward something vast. But Poseidon does not fear. He knows the storm is not his enemy. It is the signal of remembrance, the proof that the covenant still breathes. The chains hum louder, their glow pulsing in rhythm with the storm above. The abyss trembles, shadows shifting, as if aware that change is coming. Poseidon speaks softly, though none but the sea can hear. Let the guardians awaken. Let the vow be renewed. The waves rise higher, not in anger, but in anticipation. The ocean waits, the sky waits, the earth waits. And within the abyss, something stirs in answer, patient but powerful. The gathering storm has begun, and the world stands on the edge of remembrance. The storm gathers strength, not of rain or thunder, but of memory returning to the world. High above the waves, the winds turn restless, circling in patterns older than time. They have always carried whispers, drifting from sea to mountain, from mountain to sky. Now they carry Poseidon's call, wrapping it in currents that dance across the heavens. The winds remember. They remember the vow made when the world was still soft with dawn. They remember circling the covenant, weaving air into balance with water and stone. Their voice is not one, but many, layered like songs sung across endless valleys. Together, they form a great breath, a whisper that bends clouds and shakes treetops. Seakeeper, we hear you. The chains still bind, but the promise fades in silence. Their words sweep across the horizon, stirring ships, shaking sails, and bending tall masts. Mortals sense only sudden gales, strange gusts that seem to speak without words. But Poseidon understands. He hears the vow renewed in the breath of the winds. He answers softly, his voice carried through waves that leap skyward like silver towers. Guardians of air, stand with me. The covenant needs remembrance, or it will break. The winds swirl tighter, forming a vast circle above the abyss, a crown of motion. Clouds gather, not dark but luminous, glowing with faint halos, like dawn breaking early. The chains below respond, humming deeper, their glow pulsing in harmony with the winds. The abyss trembles, its shadows disturbed by the weight of returning memory. Yet the winds do not bring only hope. Within them lies unease, a warning carried far. Forces sleep that should not wake. The abyss whispers louder with every breath we give. Poseidon listens, his heart steady, though the words weigh like anchors in his mind. He knows the winds speak truth. To remember the covenant is to stir what lies below. Still, forgetting is not an option. Silence is already unraveling the balance of the sea. The oracle Thalira dreams again, hearing the winds as voices in her fragile mind. She sees vast wings spread across the sky, currents of air woven into living shapes. They circle the abyss, guardians unseen by mortals, but felt in every shift of breeze. She whispers in her sleep. The air remembers. The vow breathes again. Her words drift back to Poseidon, who lifts his trident in solemn acknowledgement. The sea god feels less alone now, bound to the winds in shared remembrance. Yet he also feels the abyss stir deeper, shadows pressing harder against their chains. The winds howl, but their sound is not fury. It is warning, and it is prayer. The covenant has been rekindled, but its light shines upon paths both hopeful and perilous. Poseidon raises his gaze to the storm above, eyes steady with purpose. The vow awakens. Let no shadow silence it again. The winds scatter his words, carrying them far across lands and seas, into every breath of life. And far below, the chains hum louder, trembling with power, awaiting the next guardian to awaken. The abyss does not sleep, even when the sea above lies calm beneath silver light. It stirs slowly, like a creature half remembering its own breath. Chains pulse, humming with a rhythm that echoes through waters deep and endless. They bind something vast, something hidden, wrapped in silence older than memory. Tonight, the silence cracks, not with sound, but with weight pressing outward from within. The abyss trembles, its shadows bending as though touched by unseen hands. Poseidon feels it before any mortal eye can glimpse the shift. A pressure climbs upward, curling through tides and stirring the seabed. He stands upon his throne of coral and pearl, eyes set upon the dark horizon. The chains strain, he whispers, though none are near enough to hear. Above, the winds still circle, holding their vigil with whispers of memory. They feel the same tremor, a quiver in the balance between sea, air, and stone. The abyss remembers too. The winds murmur, their voices weaving through cloud and wave. The oracle Thalira dreams again, her rest fractured by visions she cannot control. She sees chains stretching not only across sea, but sky and mountain alike. She sees cracks of light leaking, not golden, but pale and cold as starlight. Her voice trembles as she wakes, words tumbling unbidden into the night. The abyss speaks back. It listens, and it waits. Poseidon listens too, his heart heavy with both duty and dread. The covenant he revives does not only summon allies, it awakens watchers below. What lies beneath has not forgotten the oath, though its memory twists in darkness. The chains glow brighter, not with strength, but with strain under ancient weight. Every link hums louder, like harp strings pulled too tight, ready to break. Mortals sense it faintly, though they do not understand. Fishermen pause as nets tug strangely, as though hooked to something vast. Children wake from dreams of deep oceans rising, unable to describe what they saw. Sailors cross themselves, whispering prayers against the restless sea. The world feels the tremor, though it knows not its cause. Poseidon steadies himself, planting his trident deep into the seafloor. Its light spreads outward, rippling like silver fire, calming the nearest waters. "Not yet," he declares, his voice both command and plea. The abyss stills, though only for a moment, as though listening in return. It does not retreat, but it waits, lingering like a question unanswered. The winds speak again, circling closer, voices heavy with warning. You cannot bind memory without stirring shadow. The vow awakens all that heard it. Poseidon nods slowly, for he has known this truth since the first vow was forged. To remember is to call. To call is to be answered, and not all who answer will come as guardians. Yet he does not falter, for silence would doom the seas faster than shadow. The oracle lights her lamp, gazing upon waves restless with unseen motion. She whispers to the darkness. The chains groan, but they still hold. Her words drift far, reaching Poseidon as he keeps watch at the edge of the abyss. He lifts his gaze once more, steady and unyielding. The vow stands, the sea remembered. The chains endure, though they sing with warning. And below, the abyss waits, its patience vast, its hunger bound, but never gone. The moon rises higher, casting silver across waters that hide unrest below. The abyss grows louder, its chains trembling like strings struck by unseen hands. Each pulse sends ripples outward, felt in waves that crash with strange rhythm. Poseidon walks the ocean floor, his steps stirring ancient sands. He listens, every vibration a message carried from the heart of the deep. The chains weaken, he murmurs, though his voice carries strength, not despair. Around him, fish scatter, sensing the tension that flows through every current. Corals bend, as if bowing to the weight of unseen pressure. The winds above howl faintly, their voices troubled with warning. They circle the abyss, unwilling to leave, bound by memory of the vow. Thalera, the oracle, sits awake, her lamp flickering as visions return. She sees not the sea, but a hall of mirrors stretching without end. Each mirror reflects an image of the chains, some whole, some shattered. Her heart races as she whispers, "Choices will break or bind the world." She writes her vision in trembling ink, knowing Poseidon will understand. For his path is not only strength, but choice between silence and call. Above the waters, mortals stir uneasily in the night. Seafarers wake from dreams of oceans swallowing stars. Villages by the shore hear tides crash with unusual force. Old priests lift their heads, remembering prophecies long unspoken. Something ancient rises, they say, though they do not know its name. Poseidon raises his trident, its glow cutting through shadow like dawn. He speaks to the abyss, calm and unwavering. "You are bound by oath, as am I. Do not test the chains." The abyss responds with silence, but silence heavy with intent. A low hum grows, vibrating through rock, coral, and tide. The chains shimmer, glowing faintly with the light of struggle. Poseidon steadies himself, planting the trident deep once more. Its light flows outward, weaving through links of the chain. For a moment they strengthen, their hum turning steady, almost calm. But the peace does not last. Shadows surge, pressing harder. The winds cry out, their chorus filling the skies with unease. Guard the vow, Seakeeper, for the abyss does not sleep. Poseidon nods, his eyes steady, though his heart weighs with burden. He knows the chains will not hold forever without renewal. The vow must be spoken again, not only by gods, but by all elements. Sea, wind, stone, and flame, each must return to the covenant. Only then will the abyssal hunger remain bound. Thalira dreams once more, hearing voices chant in languages forgotten. They call not for doom, but for unity against the deep. She sees 4 pillars rise: water, air, earth, and fire. Each one glows, leaning toward the chains as if to seal them. She wakes with clarity, whispering, "The covenant must be whole again." Her words reach Poseidon, carried on winds that bend around her voice. He lifts his gaze, speaking with firm resolve. "Then I will call them. One by one, the guardians will awaken." The abyss shudders, as though hearing and preparing for what comes. Its silence is no longer patience, but anticipation. The chains hum louder, not breaking, but waiting. And the sea grows restless, for the next chapter of the vow is about to unfold. The sea lies calm, though beneath its surface the chains hum with renewed strength. Poseidon stands tall, his trident glowing like a lighthouse in endless night. The vow has been spoken, the covenant recalled, and the guardians stirred from silence. Winds still circle above, steady now, carrying whispers of unity across the horizon. The earth listens in stillness, its stones echoing faint tremors of remembrance. Flames flicker on distant shores, their sparks joining the chorus of the vow. Water, air, earth, and fire. 4 voices aligned, weaving balance once more. The abyss shifts, but its pressure softens, restrained by the weight of the covenant. It does not vanish, for shadows never truly fade, but it submits to memory restored. Poseidon lowers his trident, letting its light fade gently into the sea. The ocean sighs, as if exhaling a burden carried too long. The Lyra watches from her shore, her visions finally quiet, her lamp steady at last. She knows the vow will hold, though it will always need renewal in time. The gods may watch, but it is memory that truly guards the chains. Mortals sense peace returning, though they cannot name its cause. Fishermen sail freely again, finding seas calm where once they feared storms. Children dream of stars shining over gentle waves, not of oceans rising. Villages by the shore hear tides sing softly, like a lullaby of the deep. Priests lift their voices in gratitude, not in warning, their prayers lighter than before. Poseidon gazes outward, beyond the abyss, beyond the edge of mortal sight. His heart steadies, though he knows the work of guardianship never ends. He whispers, "The vow endures, and so must I." The winds answer softly, carrying his words across continents, into valleys and deserts. The earth responds with quiet strength, holding fast beneath mountain and plain. Flames burn brighter, their warmth shared, their glow defiant against darkness. The covenant breathes, alive once more, a song sung by all that is. The abyss listens, its silence no longer threat but reminder. It waits, patient, knowing its time will come only if memory falters. But for now, it is bound, and the world is safe in its embrace of unity. Thalira closes her eyes, whispering, "Balance is fragile, but so is shadow." She smiles, knowing her visions were never curses, but warnings to guide. Poseidon returns to his throne of coral and pearl, the sea calm around him. He does not rest, for gods do not sleep, but his vigil is gentler now. His trident rests beside him, its glow dimmed but ready. Above, the sky clears, stars reflected in waters smooth as glass. The chains below hum steadily, their song in harmony with sea and sky. The vow has been renewed, its memory woven into every tide and breeze. And though the abyss still dreams, its chains remain strong, its hunger silent. The story of shadow and light continues, but tonight it ends in peace. The Seakeeper has kept his promise. The world remembers, and in remembrance, the balance holds.